Burns and Holla. It's Monday. It's 6 p.m. We're just over 24 hours now from the Seahawks opening day victory. I'm Zach Burns, Terry Holloman, the Holla, along with me.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
I'm sure you watched every single minute. I missed like 3 minutes, but I think the most important minutes were all the ones in the first quarter, because that's usually when the Seahawks are just absolutely dreadful. They always have to come back in the second half, most notably in the fourth quarter. But this time they decided, hey, let's start playing from the opening kickoff.
Yeah, they figured it's 2020. Everything else is screwed up. Let's just screw up our normal MO, right? So, yeah, the Seahawks normally start slow to be gracious. They usually start slow, and finish strong and fast. But this week, 2020 came around, and it's a brand new Seahawks organization. Still, a lot of the same familiar faces. Russell Wilson still doing his thing. And it was just good, man. I just got to be honest. It was good to see football. It was good. Like my soul and my spirit needed it. And we've talked about it before in the past on this show, like the different sports that they've tried to introduce to us so far during this pandemic, with whether it be Major League Baseball or professional basketball in the bubble. It just hasn't done it for me. But football did. Football actually this weekend, I felt a little bit of normalcy.
Do you like the crowd noise?
You know what? I kind of do. I do. Even though I know I'm tricking myself.
Yeah.
I it's just, I think it's just the white noise. It's not something that I pay attention to, but I think I would probably notice it more.
You would notice the absence.
Yeah.
And every once in a while they would cut to the crowd and I'd be like, oh yeah, it's empty. So it definitely did work. I think that it was a good decision for the NFL to do that. I know that they're kind of being mocked for it, and some of the people. So there's two different levels of sound. I learned this. There's kind of just the ambient sound that's happening all the time, and then there's someone who's actually at some sort of control board when appropriate. They elevate the level of noise.
I was assuming, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that now somebody has a full-time job where they go in there, so if it's the home team, right? So suppose they're playing in Seattle, and there's a penalty against one of the Seahawks. I would assume there's a guy who can press the boo button and boo a little bit more, bring the boo noise in, or when there's a big play, make a little bit louder, a cheering noise.
I don't know how many buttons there are, but that's such a wonderful, because the person doing this has never probably had any sort of amount of power like this. No, they can control how you sort of feel. It'd be like controlling the laugh track during a live sitcom. You can kind of control how people respond to it. Yeah. Because if there was some sort of horrendous injury on the field, you could hit the applause button if it were like the star player for the other team, and you decided that that's how you wanted people to react to it. I like it.
I was kind of waiting for something like that to happen. Not particularly that situation, a cheer when somebody gets injured, but it's going to happen this year where somebody does an inappropriate button press, like where I push the boo button where I should be cheering. You know what I'm saying? At the home game, and our team scores a touchdown, and I press the boo button on accident. So it's going to happen.
Yeah, and there weren't too many instances where someone controlling the Seahawks game, if it were a home game, should have hit the boo button. The score made it seem like it was a lot closer game, and Matt Ryan had 450 pass yards, the Falcons quarterback, but most of them came in garbage time. And I don't know who said it while I was watching it, but that's the hardest I've seen the Seahawks defense hit other players since like the AFC Championship game against the 49ers.
Yeah, it was. They were out there banging. There was some new additions. I'm gonna jump to that new addition here in a second, but go in line with what you said about the Atlanta Falcons and Matt Ryan, their quarterback, throwing for 400 yards. I heard an interesting stat this morning, man, and it kind of blew me away. It said that in the Pete Carroll era, when an opposing team's quarterback throws for 400 yards, the Seahawks have never lost.
Yeah, I did. That was Danny O'Neill, who I love sports writers. I love reading sports writers' Twitter during NFL games, because one thing's weird about it is that they're tweeting about someone else's workday, which is when you think about it, it's sort of strange. But Danny especially because someone will come up with an interesting stat or what, because Russell Wilson became the 5th quarterback to run for 4,000 career yards. And I feel like Danny especially really takes the challenge like, no, you're not. I'm going to come up with the most obscure, interesting stat of the day. You are not going to outdo me. And that was his yesterday, which I thought that is very interesting.
Yeah.
I think they're 10-0 now in the Pete Carroll era when quarterbacks throw for over 400 yards.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament because what happens is, for those of you who don't know, might not be familiar with football and the game and of itself.
Yeah, we should let's start. Let's just go over all the rules. A football is an oblong shape. Yeah. It's called a pigskin, but it's not actually made from pig.
No, seriously though, like usually a quarterback when they throw for 400 yards, that's a lot of passing yards. If you're playing fantasy football, you're gonna get a lot of points for that.
You were happy if you had Matt Ryan yesterday.
Yeah, you probably got a lot of points. The bad part about that is usually when you're passing the ball that many times is because you're trying to catch up.
Yeah.
You're trying to move the ball down the field fast. You're trying to stop the clock. And that's what happens when you throw the ball. You move the ball quickly. If your guy doesn't catch it, the clock stops. And so I think it's just really a testament that what the Seahawks were able to get out in the head and start drumming people, and other teams have to beat them. Work hard to try to get back in the game. So yeah, that's probably the reason why.
So one of the traditions after a victory is the coach hands out the game ball to the best player of the game. And yesterday would have been sort of a tough decision, which is weird because Russell Wilson had as many TD passes as he did incompletions. But it seemed like there was more buzz around Jamal Adams than anybody else on the field yesterday.
Yeah, he was the piece that the Seahawks were really missing and really wanted to add to the fold to that defense this offseason, man. He, at first, there was a lot of people in Seattle who probably weren't very familiar with Jamal Adams, just a casual Seahawks fan. And then the Seahawks.
He plays for the Jets, who are no longer a prestigious organization.
Right, exactly. But he's a young guy. And a lot of fans probably, especially in Seattle, weren't familiar with him. And so, hey, try to get in on the show early. But yeah, a lot of casual fans were like, we gave up so much to get him. The Seahawks gave up, I think, 2 first-round draft picks. They gave up a safety, Bradley McDougall, that they had in the fold last year that played pretty well.
He was a good safety. But Jamal Adams was a star last year. Yeah. And, I don't know why – these draft picks are so coveted when you have this sure thing in Jamal. He was a great safety on a terrible, terrible team, because the Jets are perennially a terrible, terrible team. But even then, he still, stood out as one of the best in the game. It was an incredible deal for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I don't know why Seahawks fans don't get it by now. You know what I'm saying? The Seahawks generally pass away their early draft picks anyway. And they do better with developing players in later rounds, and they go out and get free agents that are proven commodities. And I think their recipe has proven to be successful over the last decade. You look what Pete Carroll and John Schneider have done. It's been pretty good. It's been pretty effective over the last 8, 9, 10 years. Putting together championship-style football on the field. So I'll be honest, I was confused at first. Cause I thought Bradley McDougall was an up-and-coming star. He was playing good. He was playing well for the Seahawks.
He may well be.
Was that?
He may well be an up-and-coming star.
Yeah, he may well be. But Jamal Adams, as you got a chance to see yesterday, he's on a different level.
And he just brings a different energy. It's so much more reminiscent. Just the joy. Just kind of the way the Legion of Boom, and joy is probably not the word to use with them, but the pleasure they took after just absolutely railing someone. You get Jamal Adams is cut from that same cloth. That yesterday, every time, and he had 13 tackles, which is extraordinary. That if you over a 16-game season, that's over 200 for the year, which would probably be damn near a record. Yeah. And after he would smack someone down, he would just get up, just grinning, like he's just. This positive injection of energy to an already somewhat solid defensive core. Man, they're going to be something to watch.
Well, here's the thing about Jamal, and probably why he was so happy, other than the fact that people who just love the sport, you could tell that he loves the sport. You could tell he's out there enjoying what he's doing. He's not out there just quote unquote for the paycheck. He's a person that truly has passion for the game. That's one thing. The other thing is you look at where he came from. The Jets, it's like you said, they're perennial bottom dwellers in the National Football League. You know, you think of the Jets, you think of just abysmal franchise. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just terrible. And so when you and it's all about an environment. And anybody that's been in the Seahawks environment knows that it's unlike anywhere else in the National Football League. And I think if you just watch Pete Carroll, you probably would get that. You'd see that. And what you see from him on the sidelines and in his press conferences, in his interview, it's not make-believe. He's not putting on airs for anybody. That's genuine. Like he really, he's the guy that like truly believes. Like he's the Zen master. Like I really believe that we can win, that we can do this, and that we can be better people and better humans and all that stuff, right? And then so you come from a place like the Jets franchise and you put yourself into this organization where the environment is positive and we're going to win and at all costs, we're going to fight to the last second. Yeah, I'm going to be hyped.
Yeah, the more you talk about, Seattle versus New York, I mean, specifically the Jets, who wants to stick around there? You got kind of a goofy coach with weird eyes, Adam Gase. And then no matter what, you're the Mets. You're always the second-class franchise, except for the 1 year, that Namath guaranteed. But you're going back to 1969 now. I mean, that's forever. And since then, they've stunk. There's this incredible, and even as a non-sports fan, you should look this up. There's this incredible supercut of Jets fans reacting to all the terrible draft picks that they've made over the years. When players, just for an example, the year that Dan Marino was available, they took Ken O'Brien. It's just, if you don't know the second name, that's the point. Yeah, almost. And then you even hear the names of some of these players that the Jets pick, and you're like, there's no way someone named like Todd Funkers is going to be good. There's no way. Just even the uniforms at this point, that sad shade of green that sort of blends in with the field that they often end up on because they're terrible.
Yeah, nobody really ever gives a second thought to the Jets. It's an unfortunate situation too, but lucky for us, Jamal was able to get up out of there.
Yeah,
Jamal Adams was able to get up out of there. And again, people that I know that have been in the Seahawks franchise, not just the organization is so top notch and again, it goes from, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I'm not making it up. I've heard this from dozens of guys that mentality goes from John Schneider to Pete Carroll to every coach on the coaching staff to the lady at the front desk when you check in to the janitor to the guys doing the laundry. Everybody inside that building has bought in, and they're all on the same mindset: positivity. We can win it. You know what I'm saying? It's not over till it's over. And then on top of that, you have the top notch equipment, facilities. Everything is top notch for the Seahawks. So he's happy.
And then the other big moment of the game, is the fourth down pass to DK Metcalf, who had a couple of drops, but overall he'll be all right. The wide receiving core looks pretty solid. Chris Carson got some good hands as well, a one-handed catch.
Yeah.
But one of the more interesting displays of unity didn't happen before the game. Actually happened during the first play of the game. During the kickoff, nobody moved.
Yeah.
So the ball just fell, quietly into the end zone, and then all the players on the field took a knee.
Yep. Honest with you, man. So, of course, the build up to the NFL kickoff, the Seahawks kickoff, I was, just on pins and needles, fired up. Blood is racing. Let's go. It's kickoff. I'm parked in front of the TV. They kicked the ball off. I'm like, yeah. And then I see nobody move. I'm like, what are you doing? You gotta go. It's not preseason anymore. It's not practice. You gotta. And then I was like, oh, they're taking a knee.
Yeah.
And then I was literally I was speechless for a minute. I had never seen anything like that before. Where both teams decided, okay, we're gonna kick the ball through the end zone. First of all, the guy has to kick the ball through the end zone. You got to make sure you do that, because if you don't, it's screwed up. Like the whole plan is screwed up, right?
Right.
Like the ball bounces inbounds. It's live. Somebody's about to get their head taken off, right? You got to do something. But they kicked the ball through the end zone. They planned it out. Both teams took a knee in solidarity, in unity, and then continued on with the game. It was beautiful, man.
And it completely eliminated the what's become the political nature of displays of unity, which began, we're looking at 4 years ago now with Colin Kaepernick. And at that point, it was not a display of unity. It was a display of protest during the national anthem. So to do it during the game, I thought was not, you brought up how it just defied your expectations. That moment leading up to kickoff, especially on opening day in 2020.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the shock of seeing not what you expect, nobody moving, and then for them all to take a knee, I think it was a lot more impactful than anything else that I've seen. And again, eliminated, the people who do believe still it's disrespect to the flag and then somehow our military. If you take a knee during the anthem, just remove that part from the conversation whatsoever.
Yeah, there's a couple things I think about that and what you just said. First and foremost, I've always told people, I was like, it's never been about disrespecting the flag at all. That's never been about disrespecting the military. They told you that verbatim. This is not our intent. Okay. So first of all, there's that. Second of all, I would always tell people who tunes in to the game to watch the national anthem being sung at the beginning of the game, unless it's the Super Bowl. You probably never see it.
Good point.
You never see it. And it doesn't matter. It takes place before you turn on your TV. It's never been a thing for people to I don't know why. It was just a reason for people to say they were upset. Okay?
Yeah. So they could.
And the third thing is now you've caused them to take that pregame protest that most people would have never seen before, and now they put it in the actual game. So now you get a chance to see it, and now now it's not something that they could just block out. That since the Seahawks did it during the game. Before we could not air it, right? Because it's not part of the game. Now it's the kickoff. We're seeing it. Now we all have to see it and respect it and know that it's not about the flag.
It's amazing how many people got incredibly passionate about the national anthem once Colin Kaepernick started kneeling. There's so many problems I have with our national anthem. One, it's just not a very good song. It really isn't. A national anthem should be something everybody can sing along with. You can, of course, but you're going to do it poorly unless you're a trained vocalist.
Right.
Very few people who even do it professionally truly nail it. Like, to me, there's only one stirring version of it, and that is Whitney's.
Whitney Houston.
That's it. That's the only version. And I don't think anybody would have ever taken a knee if they just piped in Whitney's over and over, because it's almost impossible. Yeah. It's impossible.
Right.
And then lyrically, it's not a song that I feel like would ever rally a nation, because the word rampart is in it, and nobody knows what that word means. I only know because I didn't know what it meant and then looked it up. There's 3 verses to it, many of which we don't know. One is about how, hey, we got slaves, but we can't really do anything about them.
Yep. We might kill them.
Maybe.
He said something about killing them.
And then there are just other songs about the United States that are much better, that people can sing along to, that could get on board with. I think that it would actually, to me, be truly like something unifying if we were tasked as a country to rewrite the national anthem. I really think that, pick your genre, whatever it is, submissions, we do like an American Idol style elimination and everything. Because I hear like, "Oh, Canada," that thing brings me to tears every time. Like,
let me tell you something, bro. I'm gonna make a confession here to our viewers and our listeners, and I hope nobody takes this the wrong way. So I was born and raised in the United States of America, right? I'm an American. I was born in West Memphis. You can't get much more Americana than West Memphis. You know what I'm saying? So I moved to Canada when I was almost 4. Okay. So my first national anthem that I learned was "Oh Canada."
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in elementary school singing "Oh Canada." I didn't learn the Star Spangled Banner or the Pledge of Allegiance until I moved back to the United States in the 6th grade. And then I had to learn it all over and learn the Pledge of Allegiance. Like I showed up in class in deep Arkansas, where they are very patriotic.
Mm-hmm.
And
except when they were trying to secede.
Was that?
Except when they were trying to secede.
There's that part. That's that part. Yeah. But I had to stand up and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, right? I showed up in class and I was like, this is really freaking weird. Like, what are they doing? How does every child in here know this? And what does it mean? Like, I don't, what is this? What? How do you in 2nd grade know what this? I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic of what? What is that even? What is that? Like, I mean, I'm just being honest, because a kid from a foreign country, doesn't understand that.
Because by the time it was just part of homeroom, so I never really thought much about it. When it was so normalized, but that's sort of the problem with doing the Pledge of Allegiance every single day from such a young age, is that I have it memorized, of course, but the words never meant anything to me. I wasn't truly pledging allegiance to the flag every morning. I was just, this was just part of business. After roll call or before roll call, you do Pledge of Allegiance, you sit for another 10 minutes, and the first period bell rings. That's it. There was no thought behind the words. And there have been some interesting articles about why are we playing the national anthem before every single sporting event, and why don't we do it for other big live events? Why is it just sports? And it is true, if it's so overplayed like that, like, you don't listen to Christmas music year round unless you're a psychopath. Like, if you're the national anthem should almost be saved for truly momentous occasions, not game 78 of another lackluster Seattle Mariners season,
Right.
And I think that's actually a good point. It's weird.
Have we ever determined why that's the situation? Why it is for these sporting events we do that?
I'm gonna guess it has, because the Pledge of Allegiance, I think, is connected to the anti-communist sentiments around the McCarthy era, where it just became important to make sure from a very young age your school children were of the better dead than red type mindset. So they started doing them. I don't know exactly when.
For sporting events, why did that get to be the thing? Like,
I'm gonna guess it happened around the same time. Like, we just need to inject as much of this, as you said, Americana, this sort of false patriotic spirit into as much of our typical American lives as possible. Although that's just a guess. I don't honestly know when they started doing it.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's because it's whatever makes float your boat and makes you feel extra patriotic. That's grand, but how those things got to be associated with each other, and then how all of a sudden it turns into disrespect,
And
me
would you ever listen to it at home?
No.
Of course, that would be like, imagine you're at a get together. There's a Spotify playlist, and then all of a sudden the national anthem comes on.
Like, what do you do? Weird. What do you do? You're at a cocktail party. You just kicking it. You like ate like 20 shrimp cocktails, and all of a sudden it comes on. What do you do? Like,
I don't know. And actually, Brandy asked a great question here. I remember bringing this point up quite a bit. Those who were criticizing Kaepernick while the national anthem was playing, well, while you were sitting at home, were you getting up off your couch? Man. Were you removing your hat? Were you placing your hand over your heart, which is another weird gesture? I don't know. I don't know.
Did you even let your recliner back like to fully upright position?
Right. Of course you didn't. And if you say you did, you're a liar.
You're a liar.
You're lying. But I bet what a lot of people did do is criticize that son of a bitch Kaepernick while sitting on their ass eating Tostitos.
That's it. These overpaid, whiny babies. Overpaid. I'm boycotting. What's with the boycott, anyways? Right?
Because it's easy to say.
I'm boycotting.
Because it's a way to let everybody know where you stand. And doing a boycott without telling anybody is no fun. So you always have to announce, and there's three big problems with boycotts. One, again, people are liars. I'm never watching the NFL again. Okay.
Okay.
Of course you are. Of course you are. Two, a lot of people boycott stuff that
They were
never interested in whatsoever. I had a decades long boycott of NASCAR. No political reasons. It's just never watched it. It was just a boycott. And then the third big problem, and this is if you remember when a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich was like the sign of where you stood politically for a while, whether you went there, like either you didn't go there because of their opposition to same-sex marriage, or if you were like Sarah Palin, you would just buy sandwiches by the truckload for it. But so people were boycotting Chick-fil-A. You end up hurting people who have nothing to do with the company's position whatsoever.
Right.
Because if your goal is to financially wound them, the people who get let go first are, the entry level employees.
Yeah.
And then they, now they don't have a job and they had no say in this. So congratulations on your boycott. I think boycotts are absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, especially these ones. It's just so lame. Like, why these people are so upset with these athletes? So one thing I do want to tell you that is really ironic to me right now is that Colin Kaepernick was essentially blackballed from professional football for taking the stance that he took. It's beyond obvious. It's been proven. He won a lawsuit, right? The ironic part to me now is how the NFL is completely embraced, if not monetizing exactly what he was preaching, exactly what he was protesting about. Everything in professional sports now, whether it's real or whether it's, virtue signaling or whether it's, we're just going to get on board with this movement right now because we know that it's financially possible. The potential for us is greater right now because the whole world is focusing on this entire equality, in racism, Black Lives Matter deal. But that's exactly what Colin Kaepernick was doing that got him booted out of the NFL. Yeah,
it's pretty extraordinary. What do you think, Terry? If let's just turn everything back 2 years, but we're in the midst of a post George Floyd murder world, and the leagues are embracing this. Is Kaepernick on a team right now?
Yep,
I think so
absolutely.
too. I think you could maybe now make the case that this is too long out of the league to legitimately come back and be but I don't know.
He's done. He's never coming back.
Oh, I don't think so either. But I guess now owners at least can cover themselves being like, we can't sign a guy as a quarterback who hasn't played a snap in the league for 4 years. I still think he'd be better than some quarterbacks on quite a few probably on the roster. But yeah, he's done. That's been clear as day to me since he didn't get signed the first year after taking an A.
Yeah, I don't think he's gotten better in all those years. And like you said, on not playing football, especially at that level for the number of years that he's just been sitting back.
At that position, especially.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to come back. And you can, at this point, I think probably reasonably say he's lost a step. He's lost what he had. Because if you watched football 3, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and remember Colin Kaepernick, and I think a lot of people forget Colin Kaepernick, forget how he played. And this was a guy that, he could drop back and chunk the ball, but also he's generally the fastest guy on the field. Mm-hmm. Whenever he's on the field, like he could take off and run, and you're not going to catch him. You're not going to catch that dude in his prime. And he probably is not that guy today.
Yeah. Yeah. He had legs without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yet I saw this in the new version of Madden. There is an avatar of Kaepernick. So I guess each player, I haven't played Madden in forever, like literally since Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
But they all have signature celebrations, and Kaepernick's is like raising, his fist in a Black Power salute.
Yeah.
In Madden football.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, it's the crazy, most ironic thing that we're living in right now is the thing that got him blackballed from the NFL is the thing now that we're celebrating. And it's crazy. And I'm going to take you back. So probably 2 or 3 years ago, I was doing an interview on one of our local sports radio shows. And people thought I was crazy when I said this. But think about this. I said, what if one day, and I'm not saying this is going to be the case, but I just want to just have people think about this. What if one day, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, we look back on this entire Colin Kaepernick situation and we see him like the way we see a Muhammad Ali? Someone who was well known for being outspoken for human rights, for civil rights, for equality. When at the time when Ali was doing it, he was one of the most hated figures in the United States. Fast forward 20 years to the old Muhammad Ali, who is, older, frail, traveling the world on peace missions, speaking out for civil rights and things of that nature. We saw him as the most revered, respected, world-renowned athletes of all times. Now, I don't think that Colin Kaepernick is going to fall in that category as that big of an icon as Ali was. But as what I'm saying is someone who was originally hated and misunderstood, to 20 years from now, I mean, like, okay, he's one of the civil rights advocates that we know and respect.
Well, what helped Ali too was greatness. I mean, he got the opportunity to become the best in the world at what he did, and that is one thing that Kaepernick is never going to have, is to show anybody with doubt that he definitely still belonged on the field. So he can't quell his haters in that way. But as far as the civil rights leader, yeah, he's right on pace with Ali. I understand he didn't start this movement, but he started this movement. In the same way that, like, I understand Steve Jobs didn't necessarily invent the iPhone, but Steve Jobs gave us the iPhone. Right. So it's Kaepernick is the reason now that you see all those, and I think there is a discussion we have about how genuine the messaging is that's coming from corporations and coming from leagues, but you're seeing it in every single sport. You're seeing it even in hockey, and we've seen games, players go on mini strikes because of it, and that is all one player's doing. That's all one athlete's doing. I'm going to fully 100% credit Colin Kaepernick for that. Yep. And that's you think of the last person who started or who fanned the flames of a movement that grew this large. If you don't want to give him credit for really starting it, you have to give him credit for being the reason that this is nationwide. Yeah, without shadow of a doubt. And I'm trying to think. I was racking my brain. Like I'm trying to think. Like, in this modern day and age, most professional athletes or most professionals, period, are concerned about their image and the hits that their image will take and their bottom line, which is, ultimately money, right? So there's not a lot of people who are out there willing to step up and put their livelihood on the line by making stances like Colin did. And I really can't think of the last athlete. I know LeBron is doing a good job of it right now currently. LeBron got much bolder though after Kaepernick. Yeah, well, that absolutely, you're absolutely right. I don't know. I can't remember the last athlete that really stood out like this. Jim Brown, maybe. Jim Brown. Yeah, that's a long time ago. Yeah, exactly. And there haven't really been that many athletes. A lot of them do great work, but it's always focused not necessarily on a justice issue. It's focused on a disease or something like that. So I'm not going to say that the athletes don't give back to community, but man, he gave back to the nation, and the nation hated him for it. Yeah, he took one for the team for sure. Any other takeaways from? We're not quite wrapped up with week one. Got a couple. We got a Monday night doubleheader happening right now. Yeah. But anything else? Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden looks like he's 57 years old. Not the way he plays. Just like I saw this picture. It's like, my God, you look just crocheting now? Like you look like you're 15 years into retirement. Look, man. Whatever it is that Tom Brady's been drinking, that Jesus juice. Speaking of Tom Brady, like I watched his game obviously because he is my
starting quarterback for my fantasy football team, so I had to watch what the Buccaneers did, and I got him as my quarterback by default. I missed that round, so they picked him for me. But anyways, Tom Brady's with a brand new team.
Yeah,
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's been with the Patriots for like the last,
20 years.
20 years. So it was new and different to watch an icon, a future first ballot Hall of Famer, take the field in a different uniform. And a lot of people were questioning whether, Tom Brady was really legit all these years, or was he just a system quarterback who was benefiting from playing in that Patriots organization and the system. And
why doesn't every team play with that system? Play that? Then every team should just play with that system.
They should, right? Technically, that should work, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, Tom Brady came out and he scored on a running touchdown. Mm-hmm. He had some pretty decent numbers, but he struggled at times. But
it was a rocky game for him.
It was kind of rocky game for Tom Brady.
It did seem like, he did a quarterback sneak to score his 20. I remember so many stats from yesterday. His 23rd career rushing touchdown.
Yep.
And it looked like, okay, the Bucs are the favorite. This team is just going to steamroll because their defensive core is sick. They seemingly have all sorts of offensive weapons, and then they just sputtered.
Yeah.
And Brady, there was definitely some missed calls, but that preseason probably could have helped with. The team doesn't seem to know each other all that well. Did Rob Gronkowski even play?
He did.
I feel like I didn't hear his name at all.
Because they targeted him 3 times. He caught 2 passes. The thing about Gronk is, he retired, right? Mm-hmm. So he retired, and he's been kind of partying. Gronk is a party guy. So he partied for a little while, but then he got into wrestling. He was a professional wrestler.
That's right.
For a minute, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing about that is he's in good shape, but he's not in football shape yet. Yeah. And that's a different kind of shape to get into, like the whole different muscles and different type of conditioning. And so I think, right now it's kind of rough on him. If he can work himself into shape, he's still physical enough to do it. He's still relatively young enough to do it. I think he's maybe 30 and some change, maybe 31, I think.
31 at the oldest, because he retired before he was 30. So
yeah. And you look at our tight end, Olsen, man, this guy's been in the league, 16 years?
Pretty close.
15 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
a tight end seems to be a position you can stick around in a little bit longer.
Yeah. Tight end, quarterback. Yeah.
But I would not expect a repeat performance like that from Tom Brady. I hate him because that's what's fun about sports fandom. I don't hate him as a person, although I'll say that I do. But if I ever met him, I'd be like nothing but courteous and ask for a picture.
Right.
But I hate him because he plays for the stupid Patriots, and Bill Belichick's sweatshirts are ugly. And and part of being a sports fan is hating players and teams. Like it's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
I love the Red Sox, but you know what I love even more? Hating the Yankees. It's way more fun.
Of course. Yeah, no, I mean, I never did dislike Tom Brady, but there comes a certain point, like early in his years, like one of my best friends on the planet played for the Patriots, is a good friend of Tom Brady's, was there in New England through the whole first part of Tom's career, right? So I used to watch the Patriots regularly before they were who they are today.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this Tom Brady kid is pretty good. I like him, And then it just started to progress where he was winning all the time. Yeah. And then he marries the supermodel. And then he signs the multi-million dollar contract. And then he has the cleft chin and
that's at least Drew Brees has that horrible mole. Peyton Manning's by any standards kind of ugly. Like they've been blessed with these, arms of gods, but then there's something to take away. Breeze again is like 5'9", so he didn't play quarterback. He'd be kind of like a dowdy assistant manager at a Cinnabon. But Brady's got all the gifts. Like he's got seemingly an okay personality. Like he said some sort of funny things, I think. Certainly around Deflategate and everything. The only person that in the NFL that makes him look ugly, and this is why I hope that he has a horrendous year in career. Again, sports fandom rise. Garoppolo. Seriously, Garoppolo.
Too much, right?
Oh my God!
Give him something bad.
But Brady's and then he marries Giselle Bundchen. He he tries to start basically a cult with TB12, and no one's like, should we investigate this? Or all like, TB12 is probably a good way to get your kid in the NFL. Yeah,
board, yeah. And then his family loves him and stupid shit like that. I mean,
yeah, I know, right? His kids,
kids actually love him.
The biggest controversy is he kisses his kids on the mouth. You remember when that was the thing? It's like, wow, his kids love him too much.
Yeah.
So he's got that too.
Poor Tom.
And he leaves. What player leaves a franchise? Because again, I remember when Clemens left Boston, and the basically the region goes, thank you for all you've done for us. Good luck in your new team. Like that never happens either. No matter how much you've done for one city. Look how Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman left. They're all like, get out of here. We're done with you.
No, I think you have to. I think it has to be somebody. You have to be a transcending figure like Tom Brady was. I think there's been a few people in the history of sports that are able to get that, and I think so. Wayne Gretzky was one. Wayne Gretzky was in Edmonton, and people were hurt. People were pissed off at manager,
the team more.
The team.
Gretzky didn't. I don't think Gretzky really wanted to go as much as Edmonton realized we can't keep him around. No,
exactly. So, yeah, he was one. Tom Brady's definitely another one. I think maybe Joe Montana. I mean, there's not that many. Like,
no, you're right.
Now, once you switch to the other team, you're on the other side, and we hate you.
Yeah, that's true. I guess LeBron's kind of like that now. Like, there's no way that Cleveland could have been mad at him after bolting. Well,
it burned his jersey the first time.
Well, I think that had a lot to do with the way he and ESPN. Yeah, I'm going to take my talents myself. And then that hour-long special, the decision. And, Cleveland's got a lot of justifiable anger about everything. They have this. And then they finally get this rave son. They live in Cleveland. Exactly. But then, he came back, which no one who has ever left Cleveland is like, yeah, but I'll be back someday.
I don't have enough bad shit going on in my life. Let me get to Cleveland.
Maybe I'll just start over in Cleveland. Because even the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is shit. Boring. It is. Like, you realize you're there and you're just like, I'm just looking at guitar picks and all the stuff that the Hard Rock Cafe didn't want. It's not interesting at all. And that's Cleveland's main attraction.
Oh, well, listen, I'm not going anytime soon. I'm sorry.
No, I don't blame you. Still somehow better than Cincinnati, which doesn't get shit on nearly as much. It is. All right, a couple other things, Terry. How smoky is it in Snohomish?
Oh my God, I thought they're gonna change the name to Smokey Snohomish. It's crazy, man.
I know.
It's so, like, the last couple of nights we talked about it last week, and last week we were just getting the start of it, right?
Yeah. It was not. It was just hinting at how bad it is now.
Yeah, no, it was no longer a hint of smoke in the air. It is full aroma all the time, 100% smoke. Like, the visibility might be like literally, like, I look in my backyard this morning and I could not see 2 feet. I couldn't see 2 feet in my backyard this morning. So it's bad. We try to stay locked up in the house as much as possible, windows closed, doors shut, no pets outside, all that good stuff. So, except to go to the bathroom. But it's insane, man. I've actually started to notice it affecting me and my health a little bit, man.
On Saturday was the worst day here in Seattle. We got a little bit of rain today, but not nearly enough to do anything about it. But it still, actually just went outside and stood in it. It just felt refreshing. I don't know. It felt weirdly cleansing.
Oh yeah.
Sure. And on Saturday, it was so grossly yellow here. It looked like, the old sepia toned, like Western photos. Yeah. And I could not believe how much it affected my ability to do anything. Like I just sat on the couch and stared outside for like 3 hours with like no TV on or anything. Like I just existed.
I kind of was there.
Yeah.
I was in the set, like the whole, like, so we have, like, we live out in the sticks, right? So the windows, there's usually not any blinds closed or anything. It's just natural light flowing in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But that natural light that was coming in, like I said, I honestly don't know the full effects that this is having on us, right? I can't tell you the scientific or the medical reason or the medical effects that this is having on. I can just tell you how I feel. So I'm sitting here in the house and everything is just like a burnt orange color that's coming in on me. And I'm just feeling like, I started feeling like physically ill. Like this is not normal. Like I'm like queasy almost, right? And then, I knew there's some smoke was obviously getting in my house. You can't button your house up, right? And again, I have to check with a doctor on this. I don't know. I'm just yawning. Like I could not stop yawning over and over. I'm just I couldn't control it. It was spontaneous yawning. Like, and I'm getting annoyed at myself. Like, why am I yawning? And I realized it's probably because I can't get the proper amount of oxygen that I want.
Full breath. Yeah.
So it was crazy.
It remains crazy. Like, I'm looking out now. I live on one side of South Lake Union, which is a pretty somewhat sizable lake in pretty much downtown Seattle, a little bit north. But usually I can see right over top of Queen Anne without a problem. I live in a neighborhood called East Lake. I can't see anything. Yeah. It's not that far. Like I can't see the Space Needle, which is insane. I can't. And yeah, it's when you're outside, it feels like you're constantly on borrowed time. Like, okay, I gotta get out. I gotta get outside and do as much as I can, so I can get back inside as quickly as possible.
Exactly. It feels like another planet. It really feels like anybody that's outside of the West Coast right now. I mean, maybe you see the stuff on the news, but I don't even think it gives it just really justice.
Mm-mm.
It is just the most. It's unnerving. It's unsettling. It's kind of, I'll be honest with you, it's frightening. Like it is frightening. And I know that there's no fires directly in my vicinity, but it's still like it is like to go outside and just be in a cloud of smoke 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, man.
It is. And then finally, Terry, I'm sure you haven't seen it, but a rather controversial film, a French film on Netflix is.
Oh, you went all the way French on this. It's on Netflix.
Netflix. And in French, it's called Mignon. But I guess and I took French in high school for no good reason whatsoever. And of course, because I didn't start taking it until I was 14, nothing retained. I guess that translates to cuties, the word cuties. So the film is about a young immigrant girl in France. And the immigrant experience in France is not great. It's not been great ever. And the way that she tries to integrate herself into a group of friends is to mimic the sort of hypersexualized pop groups that they all listen to. And all the girls are doing the same. Now they're listening to young women, like people, and Britney Spears was 18 and was incredibly hypersexualized. Right. Christina Aguilera. Right. And so they're listening to groups like that. Now these girls are like 11 and 12 years old. So they start dancing in those same motions, wearing incredibly skimpy outfits. And there has been such a massive backlash to this movie because a lot of people, including Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who clearly has not seen it, and most of the people that complain about things like this have not actually experienced the film or read the book or whatever, by saying that what it's doing is encouraging pedophilia and sex trafficking. And I have to say, Terry, this was a very comforting scandal to me because this is the kind of shit America used to fight about. Like how far should art go? And it used to be normally, but the first half of it was comforting, because I remember Kevin Smith had a movie out called Dogma that the Catholic Church got crazy upset about. And then Family Guy just had the ire of the religious right literally week after week. So I'm reading like reactions to this film, which I had no interest in seeing. But then now I'm seeing like the religious right push back against it. And I'm like, well, now I got to see it. Yeah, now Ted Cruz hates it. It's probably going to be my top film of the year. So I watched it, and I understand why it makes some viewers uncomfortable. Ted Cruz says that there's underage nudity in it. That's a falsehood. That is not true. It is an uncomfortable film to watch, without a doubt, because it's supposed to be. These young girls feel the need to, become these sexual objects at the age of 11, and not only to capture the interest of the boys necessarily, because the boys that they all like in this movie are older and immediately dismiss them as children, but almost the pressure truly comes from within the own group of friends. Like, if you're not willing to do this and go this far, then we're going to cast you out. And the final scene, without a doubt, when they actually do their dance routine, I think could have been shot a little bit better. Some of the camera angles are, I don't know, I'm not a cinematographer, but it's not the way that I would have shot it. But the intention of the director and the screenwriter, this is a semi-autobiographical film, definitely comes through. Like, holy shit, we really need to think about our kids' relationship with sex, because the way that this is portrayed makes it seem like this is insanely unhealthy. And I think that that's a message that a lot of people should actually be exposed to. And as uncomfortable as it would be to watch with your kids, and I couldn't imagine doing it, I think that a lot of kids, even that age, because it's a French story, but I think it's a very American experience as well, they'd never admit to doing something like that, but they would do what kids do. Like, yeah, well, I know somebody who's like that.
Well, yeah. Here's a question I have for all those people out there that are outraged and protesting and whatever you want to call it, calling for this to be banned and pulled from Netflix.
Canceled. It's a boycott. Yeah, boycott Netflix. Yeah.
Are you upset that this movie pushes the envelope as far as its artistic vision and exploiting these young people, these young women? Or are you more upset that this is actually mimicking real life?
The latter. Yeah, it should be. That should be your answer.
Because it's obviously something that's happening in the world right now. This is based on a true story, and it's something that happens in every corner of this country every single day, all day, 24/7, 365. We have situations like this. Now, I don't want to glorify it. I've never seen the movie, and I would assume that the intent is not to glorify this type of behavior. I would assume that it would be just to kind of shine a light on something that's happening, and it ultimately, there's a moral to the story, maybe.
Yes, and it's not really the type of movie with spoilers, but one of the last scenes, the dance, the girls are up there doing it, and again, it's a very uncomfortable scene, or it should be. If it's not, then yeah, you have issues.
The one with the problem.
But what's fascinating is they're doing it in front of a group of adults, and the adults are as astonished as anybody. Like, this is disgusting. How is this happening? And they start booing, and are not appreciating. And I think the message of that is like, these are your kids. They've been designing this dance right under your noses.
Right.
They've been dressing like this. They've been trying to imitate this sort of thing, right? In your households, in your homes. And now that you actually see it, you see the finished product of it. Well, only now you're upset. Well, maybe if you had been paying attention along the way, things never would have gotten this far.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what I'm saying. I knew there probably was a moral to the story. I really can't imagine that, a movie would hit the mainstream like that would be, promoting I'm seeing all the stuff on there, pedophilia and inciting these type of behaviors, and I don't know, man.
A lot of people are saying, well, this is just going to be material for pedophiles, and yeah, I mean, I guess it is, but anytime that Toddlers and Tiaras, that show that famously depicted young beauty pageants, that would be as well. I don't think that you can put out a film and worry whether or not how it's going to impact pedophiles.
Man, a sick person is going to be a sick person. If you're a pedophile, if you choose to, that's your kink is to young children.
Yeah,
you're a sick person, and there's nothing that's not going. I mean, you could be watching Full House. You know what I'm saying? Anything. It's
a bottle of Coppertone.
There you have it. I mean, sick people are sick people, man.
Yeah, but it was. I think that I don't think anybody. Overall, I think the film's like a B-. It's pretty. It's okay. Kind of the way Dogma was. Kind of the way all this stuff turns out to be. Like Family Guy's a B- show. Like it's good. No one seems to. But I most of the people that jumped on it, again, clearly hadn't seen it, were at first coming from the right. And it did just make me nostalgic for these were the kinds of things that we used to fight about. And now we have legitimate problems and legitimate issues. We can't be bickering about whether or not Bart Simpson, should be nude in the Simpsons film. Like it's just to see a fight about art like that was really great. In these blood orange skies over the weekend, to see like just something that had nothing to do with Donald Trump, that had nothing to do with wildfires or COVID or racial justice or anything. Like, oh, we have this other debate. We have this fifth topic for a little while that we can focus on.
And that's going to be the thing that topples it all for good. Who cares about coronavirus? Who cares about the country being on fire? Cuties.
It's just boycott Netflix.
Civil War. Yeah.
Can you think of a more bullshit thing? I mean, who's going to boycott Netflix right now?
Nobody. Speaking of which, I wanted to tell you this before we finish today.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about a couple of things that I started watching this week, and so first of all, I started watching the new series of The Boys.
New season
on Prime. Yeah, I watched the first episode, and that and the new other show that I'm about to mention to you. Taking into consideration everything that's going on in the world right now and this orange skies, we've talked about the show The Boys before, and it just threw me in a weird. I don't think I was ready for it. Because when I started watching it, it was last year before the pandemic hit, and I was mentally in a really good space. I was cool. The Boys is really kind of dark, man. It's sinister, and I was like watching it, and I was kind of, ugh. But I'm gonna watch the second one though. Still,
you gotta stick with it. But yeah, it's a very, very dark program. It doesn't lead up to darkness. It starts in the darkness.
Oh yeah,
it's like Bane. It was born in the dark. Yeah. But yeah, the first scene, the first 45 seconds of the show are, just a body literally explodes.
Oh
and
my god!
It's incredibly graphic. Like it's not cartoonishly filmed or anything. Yeah, and the main character Homelander just gets worse and worse as a suit.
Just again, for those who have not watched The Boys on Amazon Prime, listen. The premise is these people that have these superhuman powers that all have these human defects. They're all fallible. Like they all have different things that, make them human and like extra bad though.
Yeah, well, because their defects are super powered too.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
So just imagine how wholesome Superman is. Yeah. Everybody knows Superman. Everybody loves Superman. Now, just imagine if Superman, with all his superpowers and his forward projecting image of being so wholesome, turned out to be like the worst human being you ever knew when the camera was off.
When it's off, right?
Like a wife beater, like that times a wife beater times 1,000. That's the boys.
Like that 20 minutes in Superman 3 when Superman's bad for just a little bit, but way worse. But way worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does more than just like keep pushing over the Leaning Tower of Pizza. Yeah, that's what it is. Homelander is what Superman could be if he chose to, because he's got such immense powers. Nobody could stop him. But as soon as the photographer's there, it's all smiles. And Homelander is just such a great name for him. What was the other thing you were watching, Terry?
Oh, just started it. I only could watch half of it on Netflix. Social Dilemma.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of nervous as I'm watching it because I'm so ingrained with social media, which you guys are watching right now. It's the first half of it's just been kind of unsettling too.
I saw that, and I'm just not mentally prepared for it because I know everything they describe is true. I know that it's designed to be addictive. Of course, it's almost impossible. It's getting more difficult to paint social media in a good light. Because at first they used to be like, well, I just go to Twitter for news. I don't. Yeah. I go there for gossip. I go there for fights. I go there to see who gets ratioed. It's just because using social media is, for any sort of news source at this point, just because of the bias the posters have, it's the untrained bias. It's I know that it's just gonna be 2 hours of, why do I still have a Twitter account? And then at the end of it, I know I'm not going to delete my Twitter account.
You're going to still have your Twitter account.
Of course I am. I have it open right now. I have Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter open. And I'm talking talking to another human being.
You overdosed it, man.
I know.
It's crazy. Like I said, I watched probably the first 30 minutes of it, and I was like, okay, I can't. Because it was telling me, just to give you guys an example before we get out of here, is like, sometimes you ever been on your phone and scrolling through and you're like, wait a minute, how in the hell does Facebook know I've been thinking about a roto hammer? Like, I was literally just thinking about that. How do they know that? Like, they are so dialed in with all that stuff that they can predict what you're going to do next with like almost 100% certainty. Just based on what you look at and type and
really,
yes.
See, that part doesn't actually even bother me.
Show me more of what I was thinking.
Yeah, because every time I go to Instagram, it's like, why? Yes, I would like Domino's tonight. Thank you, Instagram. I never would have thought that. Oh, wow. A bidet that I can install? That sounds wonderful. Like, and Lord knows what I'm searching to bring up pizza and bidets, but they like Instagram ads, which is Connect. It basically uses the same algorithm everybody does. Yep. I find them very, very effective.
That's why. Because they know you.
Yeah,
they know you. They know me. They know all of us.
Which makes that advertising far less annoying than TV. Because TV is just random. Like you're lumped in this 25 to 54 demographic with a whole wide variety of interests. They don't know what I've searced that day.
That's right.
So it's I don't want a fucking Buick. Like it's just.
I guess it's okay, but I don't. How do you want somebody? See, it's in it. It basically says that we are the product. We are being sold.
That's why it's free.
A minute. Yeah, it's not free. Yeah, it's not free. We're the product. So
yeah, and eventually, Terry, no one's going to know you better than your social media. You're going to get 9 terrible birthday gifts and 1 great gift suggestion from Facebook.
And you're going to be like, nice video. It's your birthday,
right? Good talking to you, Terry. Hopefully, the next time we do this, the smoke is dissipated. Apparently, some meaningful rain is supposed to be. Who knows? Who knows? But good talking to you. It's if you could click the share button in this, that's always helpful. Or share our links: Facebook.com/Burns and Holla, YouTube.com/Burns and Holla. This is going to be the last episode that is purely a video episode. We're soon going to be available on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever podcasts are found. Hey. Obviously, those are the 2 big ones because I can't think of any others. But
that's all right. We started up.
That's right. And if you're into social media, and like cat pictures. Follow me, Zach Burns FM, and Terry at Terry Holloman. You doing anything else this week, Terry? You doing any other media?
Not that I know of right now.
No.
I did a bunch last week, did the New Day stuff. And
yeah, I saw some. It was great. Yeah.
I'm about to start doing some more stuff on there. So I think I might be on there again this week, just doing some Seahawks talk. So stay tuned.
All right. We'll talk to you guys again on Wednesday. Thanks so much for tuning in. And
all right, guys.
see you in 48.
Peace.
See ya.